This is Audible.
Recorded Books presents Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Narrated by Rebecca Soler with Teddy Hamilton. Fourth Wing is a non-stop, thrilling adventure fantasy set in the brutal and competitive world of a military college for dragon riders, which includes elements regarding war, battle, hand-to-hand combat, perilous situations, blood, intense violence, brutal injuries, death, poisoning, graphic language, and sexual activities that are shown on the page. Readers who may be sensitive to these elements, please take note and prepare to enter Basgiath War College. To Aaron, my own Captain America. Through the deployments, the moves, the sunniest highs, and the darkest lows. It's always been you and me, kiddo. Here's to the artists. You hold the power to shape the world. The following text has been faithfully transcribed from Navarian into the modern language by Jesinia Nailwort, curator of the Scribe Quadrant of Basgiath War College. All events are true, and names have been preserved to honor the courage of those fallen. May their souls be commended to Malik. Chapter 1. A quote from Article 1, Section 1, the Dragon Rider's Codex. A dragon without its rider is a tragedy. A rider without their dragon is dead. Conscription Day is always the deadliest. Maybe that's why the sunrise is especially beautiful this morning. Because I know it might be my last. I tighten the straps of my heavy canvas rucksack and trudge up the wide staircase of the stone fortress I call home. My chest heaves with exertion, my lungs burning by the time I reach the stone corridor leading to General Sorengale's office. This is what 6 months of intense physical training has given me. The ability to barely climb 6 flights of stairs with a 30-pound pack. I'm so fucked. The thousands of 20-year-olds waiting outside the gate to enter their chosen quadrant for service are the smartest and strongest in Navarre. Hundreds of them have been preparing for the Riders' Quadrant, the chance to become one of the elite, since birth. I've had exactly 6 months. The expressionless guards lining the wide hallway at the top of the landing avoid my eyes as I pass, but that's nothing new. Besides, being ignored is the best possible scenario for me. Basgiath War College isn't known for being kind to, well, anyone, even those of us whose mothers are in command. Every Navarian officer, whether they chose to be schooled as healers, scribes, infantry, or riders, is molded within these cruel walls over 3 years, honed into weapons to secure our mountainous borders from the violent invasion attempts of the Kingdom of Poromil and their griffin riders. The weak don't survive here, especially not in the Riders' Quadrant. The dragons make sure of that. "You're sending her to die!" A familiar voice thunders through the general's thick wooden door, and I gasp. There's only one woman on the continent foolish enough to raise her voice to the general. But she's supposed to be on the border with the Eastern Wing. Mira. There's a muffled response from the office, and I reach for the door handle. "She doesn't stand a chance!" Mira shouts as I force the heavy door open and the weight of my pack shifts forward, nearly taking me down. Shit. The general curses from behind her desk, and I grab onto the back of the crimson-upholstered couch to catch my balance. "Damn it, Mom, she can't even handle her rucksack!" Mira snaps, rushing to my side. "I'm fine." My cheeks heat with mortification, and I force myself upright. She's been back for 5 minutes and is already trying to save me. Because you need saving, you fool. I don't want this. I don't want any part of this Riders' Quadrant shit. It's not like I have a death wish. I would have been better off failing the admission test to Basgiath and going
This is Audible.
Graphic audio. A movie in your mind.
Graphic Audio presents The Empyrean Book 1, The Fourth Wing, Part 2 of 2, by Rebecca Yarros, narrated by Kaya Freites and Gabriel Michael, with a full cast.
In response to the Great War, dragons claimed the western lands and griffins the central ones, abandoning the barrens and the memory of General Daramor, who nearly destroyed the continent with his army. Our allies sailed home, and we began a period of peace and prosperity as the provinces of Navarre united for the first time behind the safety of our wards, under the protection of the first bonded riders. Navarre, an unedited history by Colonel Lewis Markham.
What the hell? It's as if everyone in my room has turned to stone. But I know that can't be true. Oren's body is warm behind me, his skin malleable under my fingers as I shift my grip and shove his bloody forearm, forcing the blade away from my neck. A single drop of blood drips from the sharp tip, splattering on the hardwood, and there's a trickle of wetness down my throat.
Quick! I can't hold it!
And Darna is doing this? I duck under Oren's forearm, freeing myself, then sidestep quickly in the silence. Complete, unearthly silence. The clock on my desk isn't ticking as I squeeze between Oren's elbow and a giant guy who used to be from Second Wing. No one breathes. Their gazes are frozen. To the left, the woman I sliced open is hunched over, clutching her forearm, and the man I stabbed is leaned against the wall on the right, staring in horror at his thigh. I mark time in thunderous heartbeats as I stumble into the only open space in my room. But my path to the now open door isn't clear. Xaden fills the doorway like some kind of dark, avenging angel, the messenger of the Queen of the Gods. He's fully dressed, his face a mask of veritable rage, as shadows curl from the walls on either side of him, hanging in midair. For the first time since crossing the parapet, I'm so fucking relieved to see him that I could cry. And chaos resumes. Nausea clenches my stomach as Taryn's voice fills my head.
It's about damn time.
Xaden's gaze snaps to mine, his onyx eyes flaring in shock for no longer than a millisecond before he strides forward, his shadows streaming before him as he stands at my side. He snaps his fingers, and the room illuminates mage lights hovering above us.
You're all fucking dead.
Every head in the room turns.
Ryerson!
Oren's dagger clatters to the floor.
You think surrendering will save you? It is against our code to attack another rider in their sleep.
But you know he never should have bonded her. You of all people have reason enough to want the weakling dead. We're just correcting a mistake.
Dragons don't make mistakes.
Xaden's shadows grab every assailant but Oren by the throat, then constrict. They struggle, but it doesn't matter. Their faces turn purple, the shadows holding tight as they sag to their knees, falling in an arc in front of me like lifeless puppets. I can't find it in my heart to pity them. Xaden prowls forward, as though he has all the time in the world, and holds out his palm as yet another tendril of darkness lifts my discarded dagger from the floor.
Let me explain!
I've heard everything I need to hear.
Xaden's fingers curl around the hilt.
She should have killed you in the field, but she's merciful. That's not a flaw I possess.
He slashes forward so quickly that I barely catch the move, and Oren's throat opens in a horizontal line, blood streaming down his neck and chest in a torrent. He grabs for his throat, but it's useless. He bleeds out in seconds. Crumpling to the floor, a crimson puddle grows around him.
Damn, Xaden.
Garrick walks in, sheathing his sword, as his gaze rakes over the room.